Shabbat Shalom, and welcome back to the day of rest, the Sabbath, the best day of the week, in my opinion. And it's been a long week. My day of rest is just about upon me. The sun will be setting, probably about the time this video is uploading. I do intend to upload this video to the Gremlin Nation channel immediately after the reading, and then set it as a premiere on the Grim Survival channel. And I'm going to try to do that every week for those of you that are not into doing electronic things on the Sabbath itself. You will get it just a little bit early. I am going to also attempt to record these a week in advance, so I'm going to record it very soon. Right after this one, I'm probably recording another one for next week, just so I have it. And that would also allow me, if I have time in the week, to throw one up midweek and then record another one that day for the Sabbath as well, so I can probably be more efficient with my time. And yeah, I do have to answer a message, so it's kind of important. Sorry for the loud clickiness of the keyboard. I know it's loud over the microphone, so I've been told, but it's a clicky type keyboard, so it's supposed to be loud. Anyway, we were left off right at Exodus 12. We finished Exodus 11 last week, and we are right in the middle of the Father, as I call him, explaining in a not so nice manner and demonstrating in a not so nice manner who has the power over the planet and who is in control, and what is the consequences for not doing what you are told, as he is showing the Pharaoh of Mitzrayim, or the king of Egypt as it is otherwise referred to in certain languages. So I'm going to pick up right there. We are just about to get to the end of the consequences, or I guess the plagues, some people have called it, and to reconfirm that the creator of this planet is not necessarily a peaceful being, or most certainly not a pacifist. There are so many incidences throughout this book where he has just wiped people out for getting in his way or doing things he absolutely did not like. Just wiped them out. Poof. There's many more in this book where he sent his people, his chosen people, to destroy other people. Called for war. He outright did it. And I've been questioned before, would Yeshua, otherwise known as Jesus, call for war? Well, if you are a believer in that the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit are one being, then the answer is absolutely yes. Have you not read the beginning of the book? I mean, just Noah come to mind, where he wiped out even before that, well, no, after that, Abraham, or Abram before then, when he went to save his nephew, I think it was, Lot, and went into battle. It was like, go wipe them out. And we will get into more of those stories throughout the end, or the beginnings of this particular book. Not just Exodus, but all the way through. All the way to what is referred to as the New Testament. So yeah, let's have that pacifist argument, shall we? We can do that. I mean, I will just tell you to read the book. But without going into a rant, and while people are being very loud outside, it is Friday, almost evening. Starting at chapter 12, I'll see how many I can get through today. Just see. And here we go. Chapter 12. And Yahweh spoke to Moses, and to Aaron in the land of Mitzrayim, saying, This new moon is the beginning of the new moons for you. It is the first new moon of the year for you. Speak to all the congregation of Israel, saying, on the 10th day of this new moon, each one of them is to take for himself a lamb according to the house of his father, a lamb for a household. And if the household is too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of beings, according to each man's needs. You make your count for the lamb. Let the lamb be a perfect one, a year-old male. Take it from the sheep or from the goats. Sheep or the goats. And you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same new moon. Then all the assembly of the congregation of Israel shall slay it between the evenings, and they shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and on the lintel of the house where they eat it. And they shall eat the flesh on that night, roasted in fire, with unleavened bread, and be with bitter herbs they shall eat it. And with bitter herbs, not be. Do not eat it raw, nor boiled at all with its water, but roasted in fire, its head with its legs and its inward parts. So essentially, you're not to gut the animal. You're just to put the whole thing, skin it, put the whole thing on the fire, and cook it. And do not leave it until morning. And what remains of it until morning you are to burn with fire. And this is how you eat it. Your loins girdled, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And you shall eat it in haste. It is the Pesach, or Pesach, of Yahweh, the Passover. This is the Passover. The Passover is one of the holidays that is biblical. Easter is not a biblical holiday. Christmas is not a biblical holiday. Easter and Christmas are actually pagan holidays. And there are things in this book telling you specifically not to do some of the things in those particular holidays. And we could just go on a whole long rant on that, but I'm not doing it. Alright, chapter 12, verse 12. And I shall pass through the land of Mitzrayim on that night, and shall strike all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, both man and beast. And on all the majority of Mitzrayim I shall execute judgment. I am Yahweh, or Yahuwah, depending on your translation and your understanding. And the blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I shall pass over you, and let the plague not come onto you to destroy you when I strike the land of Mitzrayim. And this day shall become to you a remembrance, and you shall celebrate it as a festival to Yahweh throughout your generations. Celebrate it as a festival, an everlasting law. Let's read that again, just again. 12:14. And this day shall become to you a remembrance, and you shall celebrate it as a festival to Yahweh throughout your generations. Yeah, still having generations. Celebrate it as a festival, an everlasting law. Can somebody define everlasting for me? Because, I may just... Everlasting law. Get it? Forever. Everlasting. It never stops. We are to still be doing this. There's nothing in the rest of this book that said stop doing this. Nowhere does it say that. Now, not everybody has the ability to go and kill a lamb and put its blood up, but you can still celebrate the Passover feasts, unleavened bread, without slaughtering a lamb, because I know not everybody has that ability. That's okay. You can still celebrate without doing that. You can. It's still possible. Everlasting law. The modern church, okay, I'm not going to go in there, but the modern church, they don't do this. The modern Christian church doesn't do this, and they actually will tell you that you don't have to. Where in this book does it say you don't have to? What I'm reading is everlasting law throughout your generations. Anyway, 12:15. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. Indeed, on the first day you shall cause leaven to cease from your houses. For whoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that being shall be cut off from Israel, cut off from his people. Unleavened bread. You're supposed to remove all leavening from your households on this day or on this week during this festival. Remove it. That means if you have bread in your house, get it out. If you have a bunch of yeast stored up, get it out. Look up leavening agents and make sure you don't have any in your house. I know it says in your household. It doesn't say you can't store it in your shed. Just saying, you don't have to throw it away. Just get it out of your house. It's something I intend to do. Passover is coming up very soon. And I keep losing my place because I'm going on tangents here. How did that happen? I usually don't do that. 16. And on the first day is a set-apart gathering. And on the 7th day you have a set-apart gathering. No work at all is done on them. Only that which is eaten by every being, that alone is prepared by you. You can still cook. And you shall guard the festival of Mazat. For all this same day I brought you your divisions out of the land of Mitzrayim, and you shall guard this day throughout your generations, an everlasting law. We're talking about a high Sabbath here, an everlasting law. Everlasting. It doesn't stop. In the first month, on the 14th day of the new moon in the evening, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the new moon in the evening. For 7 days no leaven is to be found in your houses. For if anyone eats what is leavened, that same being shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether sojourner or native of the land. That means you and me. Why are we saying this twice? Do you think maybe it's because it's important? Because in the book, when it was originally written, it didn't have numbers, verses, and chapters. It was just all together. There wasn't chapters, numbers, and verses. They didn't do that when they first wrote this. So when you see something that's being repeated more than once, that means they're trying to beat it into your head. Pay attention. Listen. Do what it says. Everlasting law. I believe I was at 20. Do not eat that which is leavened in all of your dwellings. You are to eat unleavened bread. And Moshe called for all the elders of Israel and said to them, Go out and take lambs for yourself according to your clans, and slay the Pascha, the Passover lamb. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 doorposts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out of the door of his house until morning. Don't go outside. They're on lockdown. And Yahweh shall pass on to smite the Mitzrayites, and shall see the blood on the lintel and on the 2 doorposts, and Yahweh shall pass over the door and not allow the destroyer to come into your house to smite you. Smite you. I like that one. And you shall guard this word as law for you and your sons forever. Forever. What is with this hair over here? It's like, yeah, fix that. There we go. Make the glasses hold it down. Where was I? Oh yeah, forever. I mean, do we need to define forever? I'm sure we don't need to define forever. 25. And it shall be, when you come to the land which Yahweh gives you, and he promised that you shall guard this service. And it shall be, when your children say to you, What does this service mean to you? Then you shall say, It is the Pascha, the Passover, slaughtering of Yahweh, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Mitzrayim, when he smote the Mitzrayites, and delivered our households. And the people bowed their heads and did obeisance. They were obedient. And the children of Israel went away and did so, as Yahweh had commanded Moshe and Aaron, so they did. And it came to be at midnight that Yahweh struck all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat on his throne to the firstborn of the captive who was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the livestock. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants, and all the Mitzrayites. And there was a great cry in Mitzrayim, for there was not a house where there was not a dead one. Then he called for Moshe and Aaron by night and said, Arise, go out from the midst of my people, both you and the children of Israel. Go serve Yahweh as you have said. Take both your flocks, your herds, all you have said, and go. Then you shall bless me too. He's like, get out. And the Mitzrayites were strong on the people to hasten to send them away out of the land, for they said, We are all dying. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, having their kneading bowls bound up in their garments on their shoulders. And the children of Israel had done according to the word of Moshe. And they asked from the Mitzrayites objects of silver and objects of gold and garments. And Yahweh gave the people favor in the eyes of the Mitzrayites, so they gave them what they asked, and they plundered the Mitzrayites. And the children of Israel set out from Ramses to Sukkot, about 600,000 men on foot, besides the little ones. 600,000 men, besides the little ones, and the women, and the flocks. Estimates are somewhere between 3 to 5 million people are leaving right now. It's not just a few, it's 3 to 5 million people. And the children of Israel set out from Ramses to Sukkot, about 600,000 men on foot, besides the little ones, and a mixed multitude went up with them also, flocks and herds, very much livestock. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they had brought out of Mitzrayim, for it was not leavened, since they were driven out of Mitzrayim, and had not been able to delay, nor had they prepared the food for themselves. And the sojourn of the children of Israel who lived in Mitzrayim was 430 years. They were there for 430 years, and millions of them left. Just, bye, we're done, see ya. And it came to be at the end of the 430 years, on the same day, it came to be that all divisions of Yahweh went out from the land of Mitzrayim. It is a night of watches unto Yahweh for bringing them out of the land of Mitzrayim. This is the night of watches unto Yahweh for all the children of Israel throughout their generations. There we go again. And Yahweh said to Moshe and Aaron, This is the law of the Pesach, the Passover. No son of a foreigner is to eat of it. But any servant a man has bought for himself, bought for silver, when you have circumcised him, and let him eat of it, then let him eat of it. So if you have a servant and you're paying them, circumcise them, and then they can participate. A settler and a hired servant does not eat of it. It is eaten in one house. You are not to take any of the flesh outside of the house, nor are you to break any of the bone of it. All the congregation of Israel are to perform it. And when a sojourner sojourns with you, you shall perform the Pesach to Yahweh. Let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and perform it. But he shall be as a native of the land, but let no uncircumcised eat of it. There is one Torah for the native born and for the sojourner who sojourns among you. One Torah, one law, for you and for me, all of us. One law. And the children of Israel did as Yahweh commanded Moshe and Aaron, so they did. And it came to be on that same day that Yahweh brought the children of Israel out of the land of Mitzrayim according to their divisions. And that's 12. I encourage you, go back, read it again. Everlasting law throughout all of your generations. We're still having generations. We are still lasting. We're still here. We should still be doing it, even with those ears. Alright, chapter 13. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Set apart to me all the firstborn, the one opening the womb among the children of Israel, among man and among beast. It is mine. This is what the Catholics call dedicating your child. And Moshe said to the people, Remember this day in which you went out of Mitzrayim, out of the houses of slavery. For by strength of the hand of Yahweh brought you out of this place, and whatever is leavened shall not be eaten. Today you are going out in the new moon, Abib, A-B-I-B. Anyway, 5. And it shall be, when Yahweh brings you into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service in this new moon. 7 days you eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day is a festival to Yahweh. What is this, the third time we're saying this now? Unleavened bread is to be eaten the 7 days, and whatever is leavened is not to be seen with you, and leaven is not to be seen with you within all of your borders. So maybe you shouldn't keep it on your property. And you shall inform your son in that day, saying, It is because of what Yahweh did for me when I came up from Mitzrayim. And it shall be a sign to you on your hand, and as a reminder between your eyes, that the Torah of Yahweh is to be in your mouth. For with a strong hand Yahweh has brought you out of Mitzrayim. And you shall guard this law at its appointed time from year to year. We're still having years, right? Right? We are, aren't we? And it shall be, when Yahweh brings you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore to you and your fathers, and gives it to you, that you shall give over to Yahweh every one opening the womb, every firstborn that comes from your livestock. The males belong to Yahweh. But every firstborn of a donkey you are to ransom with a lamb. And if you do not ransom it, then you shall break its neck. They really don't like donkeys, do they? Every firstborn of the man among you, your sons, you are to ransom. And every firstborn of man among your sons you are to ransom. And it shall be, when your sons ask you in the time to come, saying, What is this? Then you shall say to him, By the strength of the hand of Yahweh brought us out of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. And it came to be, when Pharaoh was too hardened to let us go, that Yahweh killed every firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, both the firstborn of the man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I am slaughtering to Yahweh every male that opens the womb, but every firstborn of my sons I ransom. And it shall be as a sign on your hand, and as a frontlets between your eyes, for by strength of the hand of Yahweh brought us out of Mitzrayim. And it came to be, when Pharaoh had let the people go, that Elohim did not lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines, through that was nearer, for Elohim said, Lest the people regret when they see fighting and return to Mitzrayim. So he's anticipating the people will get scared, turn around, and run back, basically. So Elohim led the people around the way of the wilderness by the sea of reeds. And the children of Israel went up in fives from the land of Mitzrayim. And Moshe took the bones of Joseph, and And Moshe took the bones of Joseph with him. Remember Joseph when he died, it was the last thing he commanded his sons to do was take his bones out of this place when you leave. So Moshe took the bones of Joseph with him, for he certainly made the children of Israel swear, saying, Elohim shall certainly visit you, and you shall bring my bones from here with you. And they departed from Sukkot and camped in Etham at the edge of the wilderness. And Yahweh went before them by day, and a column of cloud to lead the way by night, and a column of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and by night. The column of cloud did not cease by day, nor the column of fire by night, before the people. A column of fire by night, and a column of smoke or a cloud by day. Can you imagine what that would look like? Probably not. Most people couldn't imagine what that would look like. I have a picture in my head of what I think it would look like, but it probably doesn't justify what it actually looked like to have this thing, burning thing or smoky thing, going ahead of millions of people, and you're just walking along, carrying all your gold that you just took out of the land of Mitzrayim, your unleavened bread and food, herding millions of animals. I mean, it's not called Exodus because 20 people left. It's just not. I'm going into 14. 14 will be interesting, and I will probably leave off there. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, that they turn and camp before Hathroth, between Migdol and the sea, opposite Baal Zephon. Camp before it by the sea. For Pharaoh shall say to the children of Israel, They are entangled in the land of the wilderness, has closed them in, and I shall strengthen the heart of Pharaoh, and he shall pursue them. But I am to be esteemed through Pharaoh, and over all his army, and the Mitzrayites shall know that I am Yahweh. And they did so. And it was reported to the sovereign of Mitzrayim, the Pharaoh, that the people had fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people. And they said, Why have we done this? We have let Israel go from serving us. So they're missing a lot of slaves. So he made his chariot ready and took his people with him. And he took 600 choice chariots, and all the chariots of Mitzrayim with officers over all of them. And Yahweh strengthened the heart of Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, and he pursued the children of Israel. But the children of Israel went out defiantly. And the Mitzrayites pursued them, and all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh and his horsemen and his army overtook them, camping by the sea beside Pi-haroth, before Baal Zephon. These names. And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted their eyes and saw the Mitzrayites coming after them, and they were greatly afraid. So the children of Israel cried out to Yahweh. Cried out. Cried out. You know what crying out is, right? 11. And they said to Moshe, Did you take us away to die in the wilderness because there are no burial sites in Mitzrayim? These people, so ungrateful. What is this you have done to us? Bring us up out of Mitzrayim. Is this not the word that we spoke to you in Mitzrayim, saying, Leave us alone and let us serve the Mitzrayites? For it would have been better for us to serve the Mitzrayites than to die in the wilderness. How many people have this mindset today? It'd be better just to sit in my house and die than to go against the government who doesn't want to feed us or clothe us or just wants to destroy pretty much everything that we have in our country. Wouldn't it be better just to stay here and serve them and die than or then to die? Stay here and serve the government. Let's not go outside and die. That would be horrible. There are things worse than death. 13. And Moshe said to the people, Do not be afraid. Stand still and see the deliverance of Yahweh, which he does for you today. For the Mitzrayites whom you see today, you are never, never to see again. Yahweh does fight for you, and you keep silent. Shut up and pay attention. Basically. 15. And Yahweh said to Moshe, Why do you cry to me? Speak to the children of Israel, and let them go forward. And you, lift up your rod, and stretch out your hand over the sea, and divide it, and let the children of Israel go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And I see I am strengthened, and I am strengthening the hearts of the Mitzrayites, and they shall follow them, and I am to be esteemed through Pharaoh, and over all of his army, his chariots and his horsemen. And the Mitzrayites shall know that I am Yahweh, when I am esteemed through Pharaoh, his chariots and his horsemen. And the messenger of Elohim, who went before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them, and the column of cloud went from before them and stood behind them. The messenger of Yahweh. Who do you suppose that is? Typically, who is the messenger of Yahweh? And came between the camp of the Mitzrayites and the camp of Israel, and it was the cloud and the darkness it gave, light by night, and the one did not come near the other all night. And Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahweh caused the sea to go, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on dry ground, and the waters were a wall to them on their right and on their left. And the Mitzrayites pursued and went after them into the midst of the sea, all the horses of Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to be in the morning watch that Yahweh looked down upon the army of the Mitzrayites through the column of fire and cloud, and he brought the army of the Mitzrayites into confusion. I wonder how hard that was. Just saying. And he took off their chariot wheels, so that they drove them with difficulty. And the Mitzrayites said, Let us flee from the face of Israel, for Yahweh fights for them against the Mitzrayites. And Yahweh said to Moshe, Stretch out your hand over the sea, and let the waters come back upon the Mitzrayites, on their chariots and on their horsemen. And Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its usual flow at the break of day, with the Mitzrayites fleeing into it. Thus Yahweh overthrew the Mitzrayites in the midst of the sea, and the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen, and all the army of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them, and not even one was left of them. And the children of Israel walked on dry ground in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall to them on their right and on their left. Thus Yahweh saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Mitzrayites, and Israel saw the Mitzrayites dead on the seashore. And Israel saw the great work which Yahweh had done in Mitzrayim. And the people feared Yahweh, and believed Yahweh and his servant Moshe. Tell me again how the Father is a pacifist. He wants to hug you and love you, give you everything you need, just be nice to you. The Creator is a very loving Creator to his people, but that doesn't make everyone his people. Not everyone is. Not everyone is willing to be. Not everyone wants to be. But everyone can be if they just ask. Read the book and do what it says. The Gentiles, which would be basically us, people grafted in to the children of Israel. Basically us. Unless you are a direct descendant, you are more than likely a Gentile. The instructions in the back of the book, I believe it's in the book of Acts, tells us what Gentiles are to do. Does anybody know? You do not fornicate. You do not drink of the blood. You go to the church on the Sabbath and learn the Torah. And there's one more that escapes me right now because it probably isn't quite as important in this particular conversation, but it is important, and I will go and rememorize that. My brain kind of is like an overload today. So yeah, but one of those very important things for everyone to do, this was the first iterations of the Christian church, essentially. Everyone was to do this. Go to the temple on Sabbath, learn the Torah. What is the Torah? The first 5 books that you find in the large book that you own. It doesn't matter what copy you have. I like the scriptures. It's the best copy in my opinion. It really is, in my opinion. But it doesn't matter if you have a King James Version, if you have the New International Version, if you have the English Standard Version. Read the book. Do what it says. It's as simple as that. The churches make it out to be so difficult to do the feasts and to keep the Torah. It's not. It's not hard at all. It's really one of the easiest things you will ever do in your life if you just read the book and understand what it is you're supposed to do. Essentially, you have holidays in the book that you're supposed to keep. Laws of being a decent person in the book that you're supposed to do. It's not hard. It's only hard for people who don't care. People who don't care find it to be very difficult. Read the book. I can't say that enough. Thank you for watching. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. See you next week.